Welcome to Kindly Neurodivergent with Kay. The experiences we discuss on this show are for educational purposes only. Please do not substitute them for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Before we begin, I respectfully request that if you witness any pauses during this show, please continue watching. I'm composing a spontaneous comment or question. Someone's processing their thoughts, in addition to repeating something that was unintelligible or misunderstood. It is natural discourse, and we can choose not to say anything while this is occurring. Today, I have Dr. Lederhausen with me. She's here to discuss sustainable habits around how to breathe, sleep, eat, and move your body and mind. Dr. Lederhausen is a dentist, public health advocate, and the author of Oral, the Swedish secret to full body health starting in your mouth. Welcome, Dr. Lederhausen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What inspired you to write Oral, the Swedish secret to full body health starting in your mouth, and how do breath, sleep, eating, and movement fit into this holistic approach?
Well, I've never been writing before, but I felt an urge to communicate that we are now learning so much more about the mouth-body connection. Even as a dentist and public health advocate, I knew there was a connection, but we've been learning that there's more connection. And with all I was doing, so I can back up a little bit and tell you I'm Swedish. So I grew up in Sweden. I went to school in Sweden. I visited USA for college briefly, but I went to grad school to become a dentist in Sweden. Then my husband and I moved to Chicago in 1999. So I had to figure out what to do next. And it took me, I brought research in mobile dental care, barriers to health, but that turned into master's in public health epidemiology, actually. And all that, and then I did started coaching people to try to help people find their ways when it comes to balanced living already back in the early 2000 or mid 2000, but whatever. So all these things together, I got thinking that I can see what can be done besides brushing and flossing that actually affects the oral microbiome when I more recently learned about oral microbiome. So that was what I took from the new findings about oral microbiome and how it can affect the body with diseases, that I could actually be helping people make changes in their everyday habits. So thereof the four pillars you mentioned in the question, the breathing, sleeping, eating, and moving come in. So I'm not a specialist or a scientist around each one of those, but I look at myself as the connector to mainstream anybody. It could be dentists, but it could also be just anybody who wants to feel better. And that's how
Please explain what the biome is.
Oral microbiome, sorry. So we have, in the whole body, we have microbes, it's a bacteria, fungi, etc. There are trillions of them, many more than our DNA. And maybe most people by now might have heard of gut microbiome. Yes, and then there is also oral microbiome. And that got me going when I was learning about gut microbiome 10 plus years ago for my TEDx Chicago events I was planning with a group. I was always looking for speakers. So this amazing speaker was giving us everything he knew, and that was a lot about gut microbiome, but he skipped the intake part. And I understand why and all that, but it got me really going that I think, I need to fill in that gap. More people need to talk about oral microbiome, because obviously you swallow some for the gut. But I can also tell you why oral microbiome is important if you want to know. And that's because when it's all in balance, the microbes and the bacteria, they all have their own, let's say, it's almost like communities around the mouth. And when they get into an unbalance, which happens when you eat, when you have your mouth open, like now I'm talking a lot with you. I'm gonna be drier in my mouth. So all these things you do every day, my four pillars, affects the oral microbiome. Luckily, we have saliva that helps to reset the balance and also time between these imbalances, strains of the body, so to say. So when I stop talking today with you, I can close my mouth and it's all going to settle a little bit. Most of the time, you don't get sick every time you're in imbalance in the mouth with your oral microbiome. But if you keep it up more frequently, you put yourself at risk for disease. That was a long, but I hope it makes it understandable.
How does this public health aspect help your dental health work?
Oh, I missed, I think, but you're asking how my public health aspect and dentistry works together.
How does this public health aspect help your dental health work?
So the public health aspect is that what I'm talking about is very much what your own body is doing with you, for you. So it's not about any big medical, you don't have to go and see a doctor to learn to breathe with your nose or whatever I'm going to talk about with you later. So that's the public health aspect, definitely. And the saliva is your um, carrier of minerals to your teeth, and that's inside you. So if you just take care of it more, it helps you more.
I have a lot of saliva.
And do you feel that's helping you or not? You don't know? Well, the saliva carries the minerals and washes out some of the debris. So if you eat healthy, it's hard to get the minerals though, because our farming is a little harder today, but that's where you get it carries to you, I would say. Mm.
How do small changes in the way we breathe impact both our oral health and overall well-being? And what are some simple, sustainable breathing habits people can start with?
That's a very important question. Thank you. I think, I mean, just blankly quick and easy is focus on nose breathing. Of course, we use the mouth as well when we open the mouth, but the nose is for breathing. It's anti-inflammatory because you have flimmer hair. So when you breathe in, you get help to the temperature of the air coming in, the anti-inflammatory aspect I just said. We also produce nitric oxide in the sinus nose area. So if we use the nose, we get benefits from it in many ways. For the mouth, it's more that we don't use the mouth that is very beneficial. Oh, sorry. And some important, yeah, the first thing would be think low and slow, or nose breathing, low and slow. So in and out through the nose. I can add also that it's de-stressing. So when you take a few slow, low breaths with your nose, it definitely de-stresses, lower your pulse, and is very helpful.
Why is it de-stressing?
Because it dilates, well, this is not my expertise, but I know enough to say that it dilates the arteries, and it affects, I mean, affects the whole system.
Does mouth breathing make us more stressed?
I would say yes. So, the parasympathetic system turns on with the nose breathing. And when you think of a scary movie, people go, in open mouth. I mean, yes, it does, because it's the parasympathetic sympathetic system that turns on or off.
Interesting.
I
What role does quality sleep play in maintaining oral and full body health? And what happens when sleep patterns are disrupted?
That's also very good to talk about. But obviously, you can say there are two different lanes. So the first one is that when you sleep, there are a lot of people who sleep with open mouth for various reasons. Some are more severe, but I'm talking to the mainstream, which is that you could really work on closing your mouth by using mouth tape to practice keeping them. It's a practice. It's not for, I mean, you practice with the tape. So you get yourself calmer and then you sleep better. That's one lane, which is the breathing, and maybe positioning of the head could be wrong for better sleep. The other lane is what you set yourself up for in the terms of success of sleeping well. We all have a little different chronotype when the window of sleep is our best. So for me, I can just talk about myself. I think 10 to 6 is my target to sleep. I've noticed that's when I feel most rested when I wake up. But the key is to know that maybe, and also have a rhythm, so you stick to something more or less. And then I would say the evening, or when you go to bed, begins already in the morning. I mean, when you eat during the day, what you do, if you get enough outdoors, enough movement. So you are tired, and also that you let yourself wind down a little bit in the early evening, so you don't eat dinner at 9:30 and think you're going to go to bed at 10:15 and jump in and close your eyes and sleep. So you can back up and give practical suggestions, and I assume and I see people can improve on their sleep. Oh, did you want to know more about the oral microbiome? And that's when it gets to the sleeping with open mouth, because the saliva is taking a break at night. It's not as much of it, So if you add on strain to the saliva with keeping your mouth open, you have a very dry mouth. So I would say, but I don't know if that's scientifically proven, but I would say that if you need to drink at night, you could look at mouth taping because you shouldn't have to drink at night. It could help a lot. And that means it helps the oral microbiome.
What about neurodivergent people who can't do anything you talked about?
What I think about that or what I could help. There are, you can chew on or put in your mouth some saliva helping the saliva produce more mints. I mean, there are ways to, I mean, you have to do what you can. So it's not the same for everybody, obviously. So I'm just saying for the main, but so that's a good thing to have. If you want, we can put in the notes what I'm talking about. There's a mint that helps you produce more saliva and protect your teeth.
Mm.
I'm taking a note that I'm going to give you a note.
When it comes to food choices, what are some key habits that support oral health beyond just avoiding sugar? And why is mindful chewing and eating so important?
There are several things. I speak to mostly what, when, and how. So the questions are perfectly interesting to me to answer. So I believe in whole foods. So you try to get the good nutrients as much as you can. I mean, obviously we all eat sometimes fast food, or which means fast made food or fast eaten food, I guess. So I tried really to keep it to whole foods personally. And then when you eat matters, as I just mentioned, if you eat too close to bedtime, it might cause you problems. Or if you eat constantly, you don't give yourself time, as I mentioned in the beginning, when you asked me very smart and good, asked me about the oral microbiome. So if you keep it coming in the mouth, the saliva doesn't get time to clean up, so to say, and protect you. And that varies from person to person. It's like anything else. Some people can eat snack all day long, some people can eat ice cream all day long, and some people just can't. So it's not, this is not for one size fits all, but what I'm saying is typical. And how you eat, the chewing comes in. And I also think slowing down is always a good idea. And that's perfect. And then chewing, if you can't chew, I mean, that's okay too, but chewing helps the saliva production starting, and it helps the food to go downwards smoother. And practical ideas would again be to try to get to know yourself, what works for you, no matter who you are, and try and then try something else and see how things goes. And it takes a few months when you try something new too. And I also say when you go grocery shopping, try to go to the things you should eat first, so you fill up with your bucket when you go in the store, and then maybe you add something. But if you run for the sort of not nutrient and good foods, then there's no room for the good foods. And
It takes me 1 hour to eat due to a swallowing disorder.
I can say yes. So that's good and bad, obviously. So maybe there's a little good in there, because if you take it slower, it's not, that's good.
Mm.
But you mean you're eating, but then you don't eat for a few hours, I assume, and then it takes you some time again.
Mm.
As long as you get what you need in your body, it's great.
What do you tell people who don't like food textures?
Well, there are many textures. So do you think that's a big question? I mean, it's hard to answer. Maybe there are ways to find the texture you do like. And then you can, I don't know which that would be. So it depends what it is for a practical solution. But I assume you have to figure out what works for you.
How does movement, both body and mind, support oral health? And what role does posture play in jaw and airway alignment?
So for movement, that's my sort of most narrow pillar, but it's in there because I talk about body and mind, meaning it's movement, but it's also stillness, where you can just de-stress. I mean, yes, I think that's the two sides of it. But when you move your body, you get circulation, which the mouth is full uh, of blood circulation as well. So we need the circulation for, I mean, everything. So the more, I mean, if you can move, it's good. And but I like to talk about that I do body and mind. Yeah, but yes. And body and mind, I'm also meaning in this case to think new thoughts, um, and be flexible and find your way.
What do you tell people who don't stop moving?
Who don't stop moving. I don't have anything to say about that, except that I'm a mover myself.
It cannot hurt.
Not what I see. You maybe use a lot of energy, so you do need to eat. So you talked about your eating. So I hope you eat so you get your energy if you move a lot, which it's a good thing to move.
Stress often shows up in the mouth, through clenching, grinding, or gum inflammation. What small, daily practices do you recommend to help manage stress sustainably?
Well, that's a huge, and it's not my expertise, but I touch upon it. I do think, again, start with my basics. Get your sleep habits in order as much as you can. We all do our best. And eating routines and your breathing, definitely. And also the stress management to do relaxation if you can and take a moment. Personally, I really try to work on that twice a day for 20 to 30 minutes to, yeah, to de-stress my whole body.
What advice do you have for building these habits without feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, I love the habits part. So that's where I think I can add value because a lot of people, we can talk and suggest and tell what's good for everybody, but we need to know how to get there. So I even took a whole course with Tiny Habits method, which is BJ Fogg out of Stanford. They have, I don't know if it's 100,000 plus people now gone through their program, and I was coaching through the program or with the program. And I think that holds up. And I read up on other people's habits makers, and I always ask people that I admire who do things, I mean, how did you get where you are? But what I learned from all that, and I think it holds up, it's to decide what you really want to do I mean, a lot of people say they want to do this or that, and then start small enough so on a rainy day you can do it anyway, and try multiple things at once. It's the best way to go. I learned through a professor at University of Chicago, and I think that's where we miss out a little bit. We try to do something huge and one thing, and then we fail and we feel so bad, and then we throw it away. So I would say the tiny habit way is to pick something you want to do and do it easily. Let's say I want to get stronger. I'll do one push-up after every time I take a shower. And then maybe I'll do that for weeks. Or if the number is 5 or 10 or 3, it doesn't matter. But something you really can do, and you have anchor it to something you want to do and you always do, so you don't forget about it.
Mm.
And it works pretty well.
Thank you, Dr. Lederhausen, for joining me today.